And the story is in a whole different flavor anyway. It's a serious story. It's more like a children's story. But my job is to read it, and darn it, I'm going to do my job. Oh, it's called, and by the way, I went back to some of my files. I wrote this story about 25 years ago. I've been sitting in the files all this time, and I looked up and thought, you know, why not? So here we go, The Magic Feather. Today had not been a good day. In fact, since Jeff moved into the neighborhood 2 weeks ago, he hadn't had a good day yet. Now school was over and he was walking home alone. He took a shortcut through the vacant lot just a few blocks from his house and was about halfway across when he noticed something in the air, slowly floating downward. A sparkle drew his attention. Jeff had out his hand as a soft light object gently drifted into his hands. It was a feather. Now Jeff had seen feathers before. He had seen different birds at school and even at the zoo. He had seen chicken feathers, the beautiful peacock feathers, and even seen an eagle feather from the Indian storyteller at his last school. But this was not like any feather Jeff had ever seen. The feather was soft, like rabbit's fur, with gentle yet shimmering colors. First it seemed to be gold, then patches of blue, and gold and red moved swiftly across the feather. Not only that, but it felt funny between his fingers. It had a slight vibration you could feel right down to your toes. And strangely, Jeff started feeling a little better. Russell, a boy in Jeff's class, was also cutting across the vacant lot and waved at Jeff. Russell seemed like a cool kid in class, but Jeff always had trouble making friends and could not do any more than say hi every morning. But now Russell caught up to Jeff and asked, "What's that?" Jeff had out his hand and showed him the feather. Russell gently picked up the delicate object and said wondrously, "This feather is really cool. Look at all those colors. Hey, did you feel it move? Wow." Jeff quickly explained how he found the feather, and after a few minutes, he realized they were talking almost about everything. They walked across the lot talking about the feather and the ball game that weekend and other things that new friends find to talk about, and Bobby, an older kid at school, stepped out from behind the tree. Bobby wasn't exactly the school bully, but he was a little scary and always unfriendly. "What are you doing here?" he demanded. Jeff and Russell just mumbled something about needing to get home. Bobby noticed Jeff holding the feather and he asked, "What is that?" in an unfriendly voice. Jeff hesitated, but held out his hand anyway and said nervously, "It's a feather. It floated down from the sky." Bobby grabbed the feather and said, "Boy, that thing sure is ugly. Kind of gray." Jeff said, "No, can't you see the colors? Don't you feel it shaking?" Bobby looked at the silly boys and shouted, "No, that's the ugliest feather I've ever seen." He threw it down and pushed his way past the boys. Jeff was confused. He wondered how in the world Bobby couldn't feel the feather. Why didn't he see all those magnificent colors? He reached down to pick it up, and once again he noticed the shimmering colors, and once again felt the slight vibration from the feather as it brought a smile to his heart. Jeff turned to Russell and they began to smile together. Russell walked home with Jeff, who said, "Mom always gets home from work about now, and sometimes she fixes a snack or something. Want to shoot some hoops?" "Sure," said Russell. So they went to the house, and Jeff's mom brought out the snacks while Jeff searched for his basketball. She finally asked the boys, "What do you have there?" Jeff held out his hand and said, look what we found." And his mother looked and said, "Oh my goodness, I haven't seen one of those in years." Jeff and Russell looked shocked, and Jeff asked, "What do you mean?" His mother said, "When I was a little girl, my grandfather told me about magic feathers because I found one. He explained what it meant." The boys exclaimed together, "Magic feathers?" "Yes," she began to explain, "that is a magic feather. Magic feathers are all the beautiful colors in the world kept together by angelic music. They tremble in the hands of good-hearted people because they fill you with happiness." But she continued, "Magic feathers know good hearts and they know bad hearts. Not everyone can see the colors or feel the music of these feathers. Grandfather said if you were lucky enough to find one, you should enjoy the moment of the beauty of the feather and always remember how it made you feel inside. Then, if at all possible, try to share that feeling with someone else. For the magic feathers belong to all people who wanted to see beauty and feel smiles in their heart. Jeff and Russell sat quietly listening to Jeff's mom and eating cookies. They thought for a long time. They looked at each other and then at the feather and they said, "Well, what should we do with it?" asked Russell. Jeff at first wasn't sure. Then as he thought about it, he knew what to do. The boys left Jeff's house and headed toward a small hill overlooking the park. "You're right," said Russell. They knew exactly what Jeff was going to do. A gentle breeze brushed against their faces and slowly the wind picked up. The feather began to sing as the wind stroked the soft colors, and finally the boys let go. They watched in wonder as the magic feather was swept up over the trees and out of sight. They walked back toward their homes, talking about all the sorts of things young boys do and making plans to meet on Saturday for football. Russell said he had some friends he wanted Jeff to meet. At the edge of the park, sitting in a playground, all alone, was a little girl who had just noticed something in the air, shimmering, floating gently in her direction. She reached out.